Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Hi. So I've been persuaded to make a few edits, and I've just had to add this little piece regarding police officers in Queensland, Queensland Police Service, who have taken their own lives in the last up to 10 years. The number's quite it's very sad, to be honest. But also Queensland Police they've said that they're going to take some action. They've got a course of action in mind. Anyway, let's have a listen to this. Okay, so this story came out from 7 News, and it's titled "Queensland Cop Took Own Life." Queensland cop Kim took her own life at work. Former officers say it exposes a deeper problem. So this section of the news article says the Queensland Police Service, QPS, is considering introducing mandatory mental health intervention as latest research shows many suffer extreme anxiety and depression, making them significant suicide risks. 18 QPS officers have taken their own life over the past 10 years. Internal data reveals, with half of those serving at the time. Okay, I'm Jay Fallon, and this is The Slippery Slope. So I want to talk about the issue of mental health within the Queensland Police Service. But before I get into that, I just want to explain a little about who I am, because I know I've got a lot of new listeners here on the Slippery Slope. So I am a former police officer with the Queensland Police Service. Obviously, I did your general duty stuff for a few years, and then I went into covert physical surveillance. I was under that umbrella. So I did physical surveillance. I did the training, all that kind of stuff. And then I was seconded to the Crime and Corruption Commission as a covert surveillance officer, where I spent 6 years. 6 years, almost to the day. So I'll tell you. So at some point while I was doing the surveillance, I was having for a few years. I've been struggling with sleeping, and at the time I didn't really put it together. Obviously, I'd wake up usually around the same time in the morning, around the 2-ish kind of thing, around that time with the same. I wouldn't say it was a dream, just the same kind of thought, the same memory kind of flashing through my mind. Basically, the same couple of car accidents and stuff the same scenes of death that I'd seen while I was in general duties. Because when I was in surveillance, I didn't see any of that, but it was just the same memories of different scenes. Different scenes that I'd been to, and probably I think the very last scene, car accident that I'd gone to just before, just before I went over to surveillance, was one where I had walked up to. We were driving along, some cars were flashing us, and the cars were flashing us. I was up in the far north there, and we'd come along, and then we've pulled up, and we'd seen up in the start of the rainforest area, we'd seen that the car had gone straight off the side and gone straight into a tree, a large gum tree. So I've pulled over. A couple of others came. No one. And I said, "Okay, I'll go over and check it out." Open up the door. Opened up the door. The car's gone straight into this tree. I've opened up the door, and all I could see, and it's just seared into my mind, is this vision of there was basically a tree was where the driver's seat was. The whole thing had been crushed in, and all I could see was a tree. And you know how if you're sitting there in the driver's seat and you might have your arm on an armrest, there was just an arm. It was basically a tree with an arm. It looked like a body. The tree was sitting in, like the arm was sitting in the tree. So the tree had replaced the body of this person, and there was just an arm sitting on the armrest. And I kind of looked, and I'm like, okay. And then I shut the door. Didn't know what to do. I opened the door again. I said something foolish like, "Can you hear me?" Because I'm just like, I didn't know honestly, I'd never seen anything like it. I'm just like, what the heck? It's just an arm sitting there with a tree attached to it. And I think I called out just to make sure, trying to compute what was going on in my mind. About 10 minutes later, just happened to be a couple of doctors had pulled up. They'd been driving up north. They pulled up and they didn't want to go and have a look at it either. So I walked around with them to the far side, walked to the far side down the bottom of the gully, and we looked up and we could see through the other side. We could see the driver. Well, we could see the back of his head basically at the back of the tree, and so it was like, okay, he's passed away. So I why I'm saying all this. Okay, so I'd done my general duties. I'd gone over to surveillance. I was there for quite a few years, but while I was in surveillance, I was struggling. I was struggling with sleeping. Eventually, I was struggling with being in tight places. Obviously, there's a lot of travel with surveillance. I did a lot of travel, quite a bit of travel, but I was starting to, after a few years, I was starting to struggle with being on planes. I at one point, no, not one point, for quite a while, I struggled with going into the tunnel. I avoided the tunnels in Brisbane. We'd be doing follows and doing stuff. I avoided the tunnels at all costs at some points because I couldn't be inside tunnels. I had no idea what was going on. I was just no idea. And it all kind of came to a head one day when I struggled to get on a flight, I think, and then my team leader at that point was like, "Oh, you got to go do something about this," because I hadn't told anyone. I'd been flying Heathrow, and I was just like, "Yep, okay." So anyway, I've gone to see they've got their own psych and all that. So I've gone to see them. They didn't really tell me they didn't tell me anything. It was just okay, well, this is happening. Okay, I'll come back and talk to me every fortnight or whatever, and I'll give you some exercises. So they gave me some exercises and things to do because I'd struggle driving through the bridge, like in a tunnel. Sorry, I'd get stuck on the bridge and things like this in tight places and just basically claustrophobia and all these tight places. And I didn't put two and two together that maybe the dreams I was having and waking up at 2 in the morning all the time, having the same picture of the same kind of set of car accidents and dead bodies and all this stuff, maybe they were related. But, but the psych didn't tell me that either. I didn't put it all together. And then this has gone on. So basically, this is going on. I'm as you do. I'm just went from half a, a glass of wine to a couple of glasses of wine to half a bottle to a bottle to chasing two bottles of wine kind of thing to get to sleep only because I wasn't sleeping. Um, so I'm going through all this. In the meantime, COVID hits. I was having a bit of an epiphany about life and what I was doing, and kind of thinking I need to change and things need to happen. And I'm like, and getting back to my my Christian beliefs, my Christian because I hadn't been going to church or anything like that. Um, so and then COVID hits. That all comes down. I'm like, well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this needle. There's things about it I just didn't trust. And I thought, and it really bugged me that more than anything that we didn't have a choice to do something. It really it just bugged me. I could not get it out of my mind. We should have a choice. It can't just be that someone can come and say you have to do this. So anyway, I've been stood down. This is all kind of fast forwarded. I I had a bit of a freak out at the very end when I was at the doctor's. I've been stood down. Then I got placed on work cover because well, they didn't tell me, but I'd actually had PTSD, and because of all the other stuff that was going on, and I suppose all the stress from COVID and all that, maybe I don't know, but it was I already had the issues going on way before that. Um, Fast forward a few months, I've moved back to my hometown. I had a house up here. I've moved back. I go to see the psychologist here, private psychologist, just happens to be ex-QPS officer. He's only just quit QPS a year before, so he'd set up his own practice in my hometown. Great guy. He says to me, "Okay, so has anyone actually told you, what's happened, what's going on with you, what you've been diagnosed with?" No, no one said anything. He goes, "Oh, you've actually got PTSD." I'm like, "Hold that," because at the time I felt like I was going a bit nuts, a bit nuts. Um, So I've been having all the dreams for a couple of years, the constantly waking up at the same time, trying to drown it out with drink, doing all that, the stress, knowing that there's something else in my life I need to change and need to fix, all the stress of that. Then you bring in COVID, then the mandates, all that kind of thing. I didn't agree with the mandates. I wanted to get just did not agree with that at all. I thought the union was on my side. I didn't realize that the union, because of the way the Triple C works, and you're kind of siloed off, and I was just kind of kept out in the cold. I didn't realize that the union had done a deal with QPS and that they were supporting the mandates. I'd gone in my meetings blind and thinking that the union, Little Shane Pryor, was next to me, thinking that he was actually supportive of my actions, but he wasn't. So when these officers from Ethical Standards Unit were sitting there questioning me and treating me like a criminal, felt a little blindsided. I felt even more blindsided when I was stood down without pay after 2 weeks. And I'm sitting there looking at and thinking all these other officers who have actually done things wrong, like, things that you could almost be criminally charged for. And yet you're going to bust me down without pay because I didn't take a needle. None of it was making sense. I was just getting furious about it. So then I come home, I get told, oh, you've actually got PTSD. You think, oh, someone could have told me this like you know, well over a year, maybe a year and a half earlier, but no one had. But QPS did ring me every month or so. I remember Dutchy calling me all the time. How you going? What you doing? I don't know if we barely touched on the whole PTSD. I think I might have told him, and he was a bit surprised. I didn't even realize any of this was going on. I thought, oh, yeah, cool. And that was about all that came up. He wanted to ask me a lot of questions about all the other things going on and thinks I'm probably stupid and didn't realize he was just writing a report about, about the mandate because all they cared about was the needle. And that's all they cared about. And the issue was at that time I just felt like I had just been completely neglected and rejected purely because I did not agree with this mandate. I didn't agree with how they were doing things. In my mind, I'm looking thinking, every year we do this online training and we talk about human rights and we do the online training for human rights, and then I'm thinking the first opportunity that you have to stand up and say, well, this is what human rights says about medical treatments. And obviously, we support human rights, and we say that we supported all these years. But the first opportunity we've had to say, yes, we're going to stand by what we've said, well, we're not going to actually do that. So I've got to admit, I felt a little bit of anger at old Katarina Carroll, and Mark Ryan when the Nufty stood up there and said, well, if people don't agree with it, we'll just fire them and get new police, new recruits. It's all good because apparently it's just very easy to get, and it is easy to get new police that. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing, I suppose. I'm telling you all of this, okay, just to give you an idea of where I'm coming from. At the end of everything, not even at the end, I was still in the job. There was something wrong. I knew there was something wrong. I knew there were things that I wasn't handling properly, but I did not feel any kind of, at that time, it felt like all QPS cared about was, hey, have you got the needle? Are you going to come back to work? What are you going to do? I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing any of this. This is what I believe, and I'm struggling with some other things. And obviously realized that maybe I was starting to form a drinking problem, so I'd cut right back on that as well. And I have to make some serious changes in my life, and this is what we're going to do. So I'm not going to do that. But it seemed like this was the only thing that actually cared about. No one cared about my mental health, what was going on. The QPS psychologists must have seen I've got PTSD, but no one said it to me. I'm saying all this just to let you know that this is what I went through and the experience I had, and I never felt like the whole time from the before the mandate, during the mandate, after the mandate, when I was sitting with work cover, even when Dutchy called me and asked me all these questions about what I was doing, you never felt like you're actually being supported. It was just someone prying into your life because they were writing a report. This is what Jay Fallon's doing now.
another report just to justify them standing me down without pay. And I'm saying all this because this year, so obviously we had
The unexpected passing of Ian Levers.
I I'll be upfront. I wasn't a fan of Ian Levers, obviously because he was one of the ones behind the mandate. He was supportive of the mandate. He was in charge of the union at the time, and I felt betrayed by him and by Shane Pryor, especially by Pryor. But what my point is, this year, my point is there is a disconnect between the Queensland Police Service leadership and the Queensland Police Union and serving members and people who have resigned. There's a disconnect between the leadership of those two organisations and the people who are actually out there on the ground doing the work. They seem to think that it's okay just to bury their freaking head in the sand and ignore the problem. Ignore the problem. There's a serious problem. There is a lack of support. When I was working up north, we had a couple of serious incidents, and then we had another incident. It was all close in time frame. A couple of serious incidents, people resulted in deaths, and then we had one very close, which was a personal incident with someone in the station, and again resulted with a death. And everyone knew the person. And the thing is, the senior officers, the detective, and all, they said, we're going to get together. The station's going to get together, and we're going to have the day. We're just going to meet. We're just going to talk. We're just going to talk amongst ourselves and whatever. Just have a day of sharing, and we're also going to get the chaplain in. And I got to admit, I was a bit surprised that any of them suggested the chaplain. So the chaplain comes in, and he just, if you wanted to, you went in and spoke. So much better than talking to the psychs that QPS have, because they are so just, they just want to ask you 100 questions and get down to it and think that they can offer some kind of solution. They don't have the solutions. They got nothing. The chaplain just wanted to talk. Let's just talk. Let's just talk about things. You talk about what you want. If you want to go into the subject and the couple of tragedies that had happened, you can talk about that. Talk about whatever you want. The thing is, I don't see any of this happening anymore with QPS. And people I talk to that are still in the job, people that have just gotten out of the job, this is what's lacking. Shane Pryor is always talking it up and, everything. Oh, we need $1 million for this. We need $2 million for that. We need to go chasing this. Mate, all you need is to organise having chaplains to go around and just talk to people. You just need something like that with people just out there. Hey, we don't have to do anything official. We don't have to set some meeting. I don't have to take notes. I don't have to, write it out and report it back to the hierarchy, because the hierarchy couldn't give a crap anyway. We just need someone to talk to. When people are diagnosed and told that they have PTSD, they just need someone to talk to, someone to listen. They just need someone to reach out and say, oh, yeah, they just need someone to reach out and say, yeah, we're here to talk, to listen. We don't have to have official meetings and go through official channels and take notes and do this and report on it. Let's just get together and chat. Just, and it doesn't have to be, hey, let's set a meeting for this. Just rock up one day and, yep, I'm here to talk. Come in and have a chat, fellas. Keep it all nice and easy breezy and chill. And actually have people who actually follow up. You know, if someone's got those issues or looks like they've got those issues that maybe, you know, you can see someone who's struggling mental health, struggling with issues, struggling with the scenes that they've seen, maybe follow things up properly and not with the psychologist. Just follow up and see if people want to talk and go over things. You know, a friendly face, maybe actually get people who can actually show some empathy and show some care for fellow officers, and maybe not leave people, Shane Pryor, just hanging in the wind. Something needs to be done. Too many people struggling with issues, and you're working with this organization, within this organization that has this. Do you still do it? You know, the Our People Matter, which was the biggest load of crap. Our People Matter. You talk about the Blue Brotherhood and all that rubbish, the thin blue line. But, mate, my experience was as soon as you were not even out the door, but as soon as you were in some kind of disagreement, you just drop people like a hot potato. Could not give a damn. Don't show any care or compassion, concern about people's health, people's mental health. Don't follow up. For maybe the hierarchy, the leadership at QPS, Golshuvsky, maybe, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe you've softened. Maybe you've softened the last couple of years. I don't know. But maybe instead of just being the hard ass all the time, maybe Shane Pryor, maybe instead of playing the little politician all the time, maybe you'll try and organise something that can actually, you know, instead of talking about the money, maybe just organise something that can just give on the ground benefit to officers that are struggling. Maybe show some care and compassion to officers that felt rejected and neglected and forced out. Maybe then you'll be able to do something which actually matters and show that your people, our people, actually do matter instead of just feeling like they're being rejected, let down. This is all just my opinion. I'm Jay Fallon. 29559. Thanks for listening.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's going